Okay, welcome everyone. So we are in the month of Elul. And the truth is that those who have merited to be ever in a yeshiva setting just know the term Elul. It's like every time I hear it, it's like Elul. It's like the most powerful time. It's like you're freaked out. It's like it's the day before, it's the month before the day of judgment, and and it's like the most intense time in yeshivas. Like there's a whole energy about it, about the month of Elul, and I want to understand it because we know Elul is called Yemei Rutz, and the time of wanting and closeness. It has so many hints and what's called Rashi Tevos. It's the name Elul stands for, as we know, the famous "Ani Doli Doli," I'm for my beloved, beloved is for me. There's another pasuk, Mal Hashem, and the Hashem will circumcise es levavchem, your hearts, es levav zarachem, and your children's. Also, the word Elul, that Hashem will purify our hearts. There's so many hints at what Elul is power of the month of Elul. But kind of when we think about it, we sort of just throw it in the category of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Tshuva. So yes, it is the time of Tshuva, it's true, but we have to remember the rule. Every month has its special power. That is a very important principle, as we talked about many times. There are 12 different, it's called sirufim, ways to write Hashem's name, the UK Vavke, and 12 different ways to arrange the letters. And they each are a power for that month. There's an energy of the month. And it's different. Every month is different. Okay? And we need to understand what is, besides the general thing of doing tshuva, what is the power of Elul that we need to tap into now as we're heading into Rosh Hashanah. So I want to start with fascinating Gemara, and that anyone who ever has learned any Gemara and really anything in Torah, you need to know this first. You really kind of need to know this, because when somebody comes to learn Torah and you open up a Gemara, or really almost any sefer, any book, you'll see, okay, here it is. Come and learn. Here's the book of the truth, God's Torah. And then you'll see in the Gemara, Rabbi so-and-so says this, but other rabbi so-and-so says that. And they're arguing. They're arguing at every single page of the Gemara. So I don't understand. This is the word of Hashem. Why can nobody agree? So it's a very famous idea, but it's crucial to really understand. So the Gemara itself has this. Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel, who were arguing, it says they argued on many points, had different ways to see the world. And the famous story in the Gemara there in Arabic says they were arguing for 3 years on a certain topic. Beit Shammai said the law is like us. And the house of Hillel, Beit Hillel said the law is like us. And 3 years of arguing, which is kind of, it's kind of a Jewish thing to do. It's okay. And they're arguing, and then the resolution is a heavenly voice comes out and says, Elu ve'elu divrei chaim. These and these are the words of the living God. They're both true. They're both right. You're both right. But the law is like the house of Hillel, Beis Hillel. Why? It says because they're nochin, they're pleasant. They're aluvim. They're insulted and they don't respond. They're very, very nice. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, how does that? Why should the law be like that? Because they're nice guys. The consolation prize. Really, you're both right, but you're a swell, and so we're going to make the law like you. It's very hard to understand. So you have to understand there's a lot of deeper things of why the law in this world has been determined like Beis Hillel. But the last reason the Talmud says why the law is like Beis Hillel is because it says, and when Beis Hillel teach the law to their students, to people, they even quote the opinion of Beit Shammai, who argues with them. Not only that, but they quote their name first. All right, So they're really nice. I mean, like, why does that make the law like them? And the answer I want you to understand for today is that the truth is that everyone's in their world the way they see the world. It's like, there was a book called Flatliners, and the concept is if you are a picture in a two-dimensional reality, you really can't imagine a three-dimensional reality because you're stuck in a two-dimensional reality. So what happens is that you have your opinion, I have my opinion, and we're not getting to a deeper understanding of the truth because we all have our limited perspective. The Torah is telling you when the sages, both opinions are brought, that they are both true, meaning there is a greater understanding from Hashem's perspective. There is a truth that encompasses these seemingly opposing views. And therefore, the laws like Beit Hillel, because what it means in the simple meaning is that since they teach over Beit Shammai's law, and they even say it first, means they really understand the other person's side. It's like, what you're saying is ridiculous. No, wow, that's a really, really good way of seeing it. I really understand what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. And yet, I see the other side, so I see both sides, and I include both sides, and therefore the laws like Beis Hillel, because their perspective incorporates the two polar opposites, the two sides of the coin, and therefore they're hooked in on one level of explaining this teaching. They're hooked into the deeper understanding of the truth. Now, why do I start with that? Because there is an incredibly fascinating argument in the Talmud in Rosh Hashanah. Talmud argues between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yoshua. They were generally what's called bar pluktas. They disagreed at many points. And they had an argument about the months. And this idea stemmed into many areas. And let's start with the biggie. When was the world created? So Rabbi Elazar says it was created in Tishrei. How we spend Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Yeshua says no, the world was not created in Tishrei. It was created in Nisan, which is the month of Pesach, the spring. So what's the starting point? The fall or the spring? The beginning of Tishrei or the beginning of Nisan? Big argument. And not only that, everything like goes according to that. Like Elazar says, the forefathers were born then in Tishrei, and then Yitzhak, and then Yoshua says no, they were born in Nisan. And even a more amazing argument, Elazar sticking to his Tishrei, his month of Tishrei concept, which is the month when Rosh Hashanah is, and Yom Kippur and Sukkot. He says that when will the ultimate redemption be? It'll be in Tishrei. Yay. Well, Rabbi Yeshua says, no, it'll be in Nisan. It's a pretty big argument. Like, I mean, how do you explain both of these things being true? It's like, it's like your kid has a birthday, and it's like the parents are arguing, when was the kid born? Well, he was born on January 1st. No, he was born July 1st, Like I gave him two presents now. I mean, how can you put these two things together? They literally seem to be opposites. So the Tosfos says, no. The principle applies. They're both true. They're both true. They're both correct. They both be correct. So he says, Tishrei is when the world was created in thought, in machshava, in concept. When it came out in practice, in actuality, that's in Nisan. Now, what does that mean? It's an amazing thing. Obviously, it doesn't take God 6 months to start from the thought to the action. But I don't get into that too much because that's the concept of time. Time is a concept that we have in our world to be able to gauge changes of states. So I don't want to get into that. No, this doesn't have time. Very fascinating, but obviously, in the deeper sense, there is no time. Time's a creation that we live through to be able to experience. So there's a concept here, the concept of something that happens in this state where it's thought and this state where it's action. So what are the two different states of thought, which is the month of Tishrei, and action, which is the month of Nisan? It says that when God wanted to create the world, his Allah b'machshava, his thought was to create it in judgment, in din. You need to earn your keep. No free lunches. That's it. Get to work. But it says Hashem saw the world couldn't handle it. So he added compassion. Now, when people understand this in a silly way, it's not like God changed his mind, obviously. That's absurd. What happened? The idea of the original thought is the ideal. The ideal is you need to earn it. That's why God created the world. He created the world to give us, creations, the ability to connect to him. And that is the greatest pleasure you can get. But it's only going to be that great pleasure if you did something to earn it. Otherwise, you're a beggar. You're not really able to receive something because you're not godlike. You're just like a you're a pauper. You don't have anything. You didn't build yourself. So you need to earn it. So the original thought, meaning the original purpose, which stays the purpose, is to earn it in judgment. That's the thought. That's the ideal. That was the month of Tishrei. God said, I'm creating a world where humanity can come close to me, and I'll put them in this complicated world, and I'll give them all of the abilities to choose and decide and make themselves great and bring themselves close to me and become godlike. That concept is represented by the month of Tishrei, when the thought, the ideal happened. But Hashem always knew that that thought, that ideal needs to be tempered. As in the Sharm says, there's certain things, because the greatest kindness is that, if I want you to earn something, but whatever, you train your children, you want your kids to earn it, and then they come bar and bat mitzvah, the kid's 12 and the girl's 12 and the boy's 13. You say, okay, kids, you're on your own. What do you mean? Well, sorry, you got to earn it. And once they, one time they don't put the dishes in the sink, that's it. You put them out. Send them outside, lock the door, change the lock. No, that doesn't work. Your goal is to get them to earn it. But the way to get them to earn it is sometimes you need to add the chesed, the compassion, the rachamim, it is more, of the month of Nisan, so they'll be successful. And so Hashem says there's three things that Hashem does. First, the punishments are not immediate. So the person does something wrong, so they have time to fix it. The guy doesn't do a sin, a lightning bolt hits him. Why not? Because then it's over. Then there's no free will, and then everyone's going to straighten out very quickly, but they'll have no second chances. So it doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen completely. In other words, God will take a little bit of a payment every day. So every time you stub your toe, don't say, darn it. Say, thank God I stubbed my toe, because that little pain must be saving me, and especially if you get really good at it and you stub your toe twice a day, then really you could be on the road to riches there. That's gonna be. And the third thing is Hashem gives the opportunity of tshuva. So you made a mistake, you could fix it up. So those are all the idea of the practical. That's Nisan. So Tishrei is the thought, the concept, the Rosh, the head, like Rosh Hashanah, the ideal, and that's to earn it. And then Nisan is the new year. The world is created in practice. And that's really true. Even in just in simple sense, we celebrate Rosh Hashanah. We say it's the impregnation of the world, Haras Olam, which could be that, meaning it could be the impregnation. It could mean that actuality started in Nisan. But Rosh Hashanah we celebrate as the beginning. It's the thought. And Nisan is when the Jewish people start. So the world starts, the Jewish people, our first month is Nisan. So those are the two poles that we have. Okay. Nisan and Tishrei. Tishrei is the thought, the ideal, according to one opinion, the world is created. Judgment, to earn it. And the opinion, the world was created in Nisan because that's when, in practice, it was put together because that's when it's going to be a system that's going to be lasting. Now, an amazing thing, according to this, that's exactly why they're arguing when Mashiach comes also. All the arguments are the same thing. Rebbe Lazar holds Mashiach comes in Tishrei because Mashiach, he holds, in another place in Gemara Sanhedrin, he holds that you have to earn it to bring Mashiach. So obviously he holds that Mashiach's going to come in Tishrei because he holds Mashiach comes when we finally get our act together. Rabbi Yeshua says to him in the Gemara there, it says, even if we don't get our act together, Hashem is going to do it out of compassion. He'll get a way to bring it. He'll move us, or he'll at an appointed time, or he'll make us be scared, as the Gemara says. Maybe there'll be an evil king like Haman, and he'll shake us up, and we'll do tshuva for that moment. Hashem will bring the Mashiach. But that's really what happens. So, and that's exactly the way the Nisan, the redemption of Pesach happened. We didn't earn it. We're the 49th level of Tum. Hashem pulled us out. So Rabbi Yeshua said, and therefore Tzadok Cohen says, he says that Rabbi Yeshua would agree. Listen to this. Rabbi Yeshua would agree with Rabbi Eliezer that the Mashiach will come in Tishrei if we do it through our own merits. If we earn it, the ideal, not with the compassion and the help and the God making it work no matter what. If we really earn it, he says Mashiach will come according to even Rabbi Yeshua, and according to the other opinion, will happen also in the month of Tishrei. All right, fantastic. All right, so now what do we got? Let's go a little deeper. So now we have the two poles, 6 months apart. Tishrei and Nisan. They're 6 months apart. Now, I want to tell you something even more amazing and fascinating, if such a thing is possible. So we know, I've said a million times, that when you have a three-dimensional object, so what happens is a three-dimensional object has 6 sides, and the thing itself is the 7th, 6 days of the week, and the 7th is the Shabbos. So every three-dimensional object has 6 sides, and then there is the purpose, what it's going towards, called the thing itself. That's the 7th. That's called the Shabbos. So one way to see the world is that one three-dimensional reality breaks up into 6, which is 7. Okay. Another way, if you want to talk about the furthest expansion of a three-dimensional object as a cube, you will call the edges of the object. The edges of the object will be 12, right? You take a cube, take a three-dimensional object, and count the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The edges will count to be 12. That's called the 12 alachsonas, the 12 expansions, the 12 angles, that anything goes out. So therefore, it's not an accident that Yaakov, when he is the one, he is the culmination of the 3 forefathers, and all these numbers are very crucial and intricate, but he is the culmination of the 3 forefathers, 3 being the process of 1, unity. But then we live in a world of duality. And then we have to have the 3rd, which is the balance. There are 3 forefathers. I'm going to leave why this 4 months for another time. But there are 3 forefathers. Now Yaakov, who is the final step in the forefathers, when he has children, well, how many can he have? How many should he have? How many tribes should he have? Well, like what we just said, that 1 in its complete expansion expands into 12. And that is the 12 tribes. And that's why when you say the Shema, you say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Hashem is one, Echad. What's the numerical value of the Hebrew word Echad? Well, Aleph is 1, Chet is 8, and Dalet is 4. It's 13. 13 represents oneness in Torah. Why? Because it's the 1 that expands to the 12, but it's all included in the 1. And that's why the word echad is an aleph, that's one, that's Yaakov, Jacob. Then you have a chet, which is the second letter, which is the number 8, which represents the children, the tribes from the mothers, meaning from Rachel and Leah. That's Leah had 6 and Rachel had 2. That's 8. And then the 4 Dalid, which is the last letter in the word Echad, which is 4, represents the children from the handmaiden who became wives, but originally were handmaidens. So 2 and 2, it's 4. So that is Echad. 1 is that idea of the one that expands to 12. Now that is not just the Jewish people; it's the entire world. The Jewish people being the representation of the system that the world works in. And every tribe now is lined up with one of the months of the year, because the year as a unit is also expanding into 12. And therefore, every tribe is parallel to a certain month of the year. Okay. Now it's going to get heavy. So everyone will parallel into one. Now, there's different ways it's counted, because if you look in the Torah, there's numerous ways that the Torah lists the order of the tribes. There's different systems, and they're all correct. The system of the Arizal is essentially according to the encampments. Right, there were 12 tribes. They were each 3 on the 4 directions, and so they had an order that they used to travel in the desert. And that order is now going to be every tribe will line up with that month as we start the system. Now, according to that, who is the month of Nisan when the Jews become a nation? When the purpose of the world comes into actuality? That is the tribe of Yehuda, the king of Israel. Okay, that is the parallels the tribe of Yehuda, Nisan. Now, 6 months later, which is the other pole to it, what is that 6 months later? Who is that? So according to this process, it's the tribe of Ephraim from Yosef. Well, this is very, very fascinating now that these are the 2 beginnings, the 2 heads, right? The head of Rosh Hashanah, the creation of the world in Tishrei, the head of the world in Nisan, and they parallel the 2 head tribes, Yehuda and Yosef, who were both kings. But they were a different kind of kings in a certain way. Yosef is called the head. He's called Rosh Nizir Chakod Nizir Achav. He's the head. Yaakov put him all his Torah. He is the thought process of the Jewish people. He does everything exactly right. He's very, very careful. He's a tzaddik gamor. He brings the concepts into the world. He is called he's called the head and the crown of his brethren. They look at him, he's really the head. He's his head and shoulders above everybody else. And so that's Yosef is Rosh Hashanah. Now, Yehuda is also the king. So what kind of king is he? Well, if you look at your own self, you'll find there's 2 kings in your own self. You have a mind in your head, and you have a heart. And there is a big discussion about who's the ruler. Well, the head's the ruler in one way because it tells the heart what to do. But in the other way, you do what you want. And people will rationalize that they don't want to do it. Their heart doesn't want to do it. They'll convince their head not to do it. They'll make excuses. They won't even know. So they each have a rulership. The head goes from the top down, and the heart, which is in the center, it pumps out to the entire creation. So in one sense, the king is the head, but in another sense, the king is the heart. He's the middle of the people. And that's why fascinating, but it's not, as all these things are all just unbelievably so. That's why it says, the Rama brings, it's called Melech is Lev Am. The king is the heart of the people. He's the middle part. He really holds the whole thing. He gives all the energy, and he's the sum total of the people. He's the heart of the people. If you look at the Hebrew word melech, mem lamet chaf, what you will find as an amazing thing is that those three letters are three letters that are contiguous. They're consecutive, and they're exactly the three middle letters of the Hebrew alphabet, because the melech is the heart. Okay, great. So now I have these two poles. I have Tishrei is my head, my king. That's Yosef, or Ephraim, which is the representation of Yosef. And then the other king is Nisan, which is Yehuda. Now this I want to share with you. This is just so fabulous. What I'm going to tell you now, this is brought in the Sfarim Kadoshim, and it's really a whole new way to understand the whole year. Because I'm talking about 12 months, and then I got these 2 months that are 6 months apart, and they seem to sort of parallel each other in some way. But the deeper truth is that the 12 months are really 6 months, 6 male months that parallel 6 female months. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. So what happens is that we are in the process from Nisan. It's the expression. It comes to expressions, female months, and it comes to expression. And then in Tishrei, we start the male months. And the months, literally, each one parallels one another. It's just incredible. So, for example, we have these two holidays that people don't really understand. They are interconnected. I think we've spoken about it once, but they're two. What's two? Not the English word two, but Tesvav, the 15th. Two minor holidays that are really amazing holidays, and they're 6 months apart. Tu B'Shvat and Tu B'Av. That's not an accident. Tu B'Shvat is the flip side of Tu B'Av. They are the male and female 6 months apart, and so is Rosh Hashanah and Nisan. They are 6 months apart. The months parallel one another. Just they are in different dimensions, the male and female dimension, how they function. So according to that, now I'm going to finally, after that long introduction, I'm going to get a little bit into the month of Elul now. The way I want to get into the month of Elul is as follows. We know that Elul precedes Tishrei. If we look back at Nisan, there's a month that precedes Nisan. They're 6 months apart. Let's understand. The month that precedes Nisan is the month of Adar. Now, Nisan is the heart. It's when you desire something and you've brought it into reality. It's not just in your head. This is what you desire. It's in the world. It has a statement of actual moving from the thought process to an expression. Okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but that's why even the Hebrew names Abba Nima, Av is Aleph Bet. The male starts the process. He gives the Aleph to the Bet. He moves it over. But the mother then brings the Aleph, she's the M, she brings the Aleph to the Mem, which is the middle letter, which parallels the heart, and that's already the process of bringing the child into the world. That's why both Hebrew names for boy and girl are Ben and Bat, because it starts from the Bet. It's not for now. It's a very interesting thing, but not for now. But I just want you to understand that what happens is that we have a month of Nisan, which we said is the heart. It comes out what I desire. And the month before it is the month of Adar. And the month of Adar is when we have Purim. So what is the connection between Purim and that month of Adar to the month of Nisan? We've talked about it before, but I want to brief him just in brief what Tzadok says a little bit. But Tzadok says the following. He says that when a person has something that they want, they can be misled by illusion. In other words, really, the place of desire where it has to be fixed up is the illusion, because only a person like, for example, uh, the way they market things to people is not the thing itself, it's the illusion of what it creates. This person is so amazing. If I just have this person, how so you create this whole thing, and it could be in a very low level. It could be, but it creates this desire that's something hidden. You want it, and you enter into a world of an illusion. So therefore, Tzadok Cohen says to get to Nisan, which is the heart revealing the truth, you need to have the month that precedes it, the month that is made specifically to filter out the demionos, the illusions. And that is the month of Adar. And I'm not going to fully, but that's when you get drunk on Purim, which is the ultimate illusion. When people are drunk, they do really stupid things. And yet, although the Persians and Achashverosh and his cadre were getting drunk and getting licentious, the Jews, when they get drunk on Purim, they bring out, even when we're in the world of illusion, our connection to you, Hashem, is still pure. That's what we want. So the process, when we get to the heart of Nisan, needs the month before to really get to that purification of the desire through filtering and clearing out the illusions. I want to use a similar concept for Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we said, was the ideal. It was the thought. Hashem, as we said, the machshava, the thought to create the world, starts in Tishrei. It's the ideal. So I got to ask a question: what could be before a thought? Right? That's where it starts. Before that, I don't know. There was nothing here. Right? How did thoughts start? Where do they start from? Right? It's like in Yiddish, they call it an einful. A thought is like something that drops into your head. How do you get the thought? Well, I think, how does a thought begin? Isn't a thought the beginning, the first process? So if Rosh Hashanah is the Rosh, it's the head, what in the world could be the precursor to fix up your thought? What could it be? What precedes thought? Well, the answer is going to be the month of Elul, because there is something that precedes thought. And that thing that precedes thought is called in Hebrew Ratzon. Ratzon is your will. What do you want? Because the thought comes out second. The will is called the crown, the keter, and that is above you. You don't really know where it comes from. It's touching a place, and this is a very amazing thing that the strong Doshim say. The highest part of the person really is what's called, what makes you tick. What is your pleasure? What do you want? When someone does something, I say, why do you do this? Well, because I want to make a lot of money. Okay, why do you make a lot of money? Because I want a big house. Why do I make? At the end, you come to things where the guy says, well, that's what I want. So there's the top part of the person is what they really want. What is their true pleasure? And that begins to place there right below that of what is the will. What do I want? I want it because that's what gives me the pleasure. But what do I want? And that is what goes before your thoughts. What do you want? Why do you want what you want? What do you want? What's your will? Now, this really is what the month of Elul is about. The month of Elul, therefore, if we want to come into Rosh Hashanah, the thought, we got to go the month before the thought and say, what do I want? What do I want? I got to go back. And that's why it's just so amazing. We translate the words. We don't always hear where it's translating. It says that Elul is called Yemei Ratzon, the time of wanting. Yes, that's exactly what it is. not just from the sense of, oh, it's time, but it's going back to pre-thought. It's going back to the place of, this is what I really want. Now, how do you get there? This is not so easy, because let's say you're talking to somebody and, tell them about Torah. And they say, well, I like to go to Las Vegas. So what are you going to say to them? I just like to do it. I just like to drink beer all day and watch TV. So what do you say? No, you don't. That's what I like. So the guy says, so fine, you're a religious guy. You like to study. You like to pray, and I like to watch baseball. Why are you better than me? Okay. You're doing what you like. I do what I like. And the answer really is that what the person really wants is already there. It's just you have to uncover what you want. When you talk to this guy who wants to play baseball and drink beer all day, whatever he wants to do, you don't say that's not what you like. That is what you like. But I want to show you, if you're willing to try, there's something that you want even deeper. You need to pull back the layers to get to the thing what you really want. So a person needs to sit down in Elul and say to themselves, what do I want? I want to be happy. Okay, fine. Well, what makes me happy? Well, what makes me happy is when I feel good. Okay, good. How many feel good? When I feel like I've done something. Okay, fine. So now, what kind of things are you? Well, actually, when I do the right thing. Well, okay, fine. So and you go through the process of what you want, and you'll always come out in the end, if you do this properly, that what I want this connection to the infinite, this connection that is going to make me whole, this connection that's going to make me feel content, this connection that's going to make me feel like I'm growing and I'm doing the right thing and I'm living in the right way. These are all the roots of the Ratzon, the will of the Jewish people, whose greatest pleasure is that eternal connection. Yes, you like to do other things too. We all like to eat a hamburger. Well, not all of us. Depends if you're a member of PETA or not. But if you're not a member of PETA, you probably like eating a hamburger. And that's okay. That's okay. You could eat a hamburger. We're not condoning hamburger eating. Don't get nervous, anybody. No, I'm not saying that. But however, if you're not a vegan and you like hamburgers, there's nothing wrong. Eat a kosher hamburger is fine. So, but that's a certain level that you like. But if you're going to go deeper, you're going to find that the things that you like and you want are much, much, much more powerful. And that really connects you to the root of what you want. And the root of what a Jew wants is not just a hamburger, it's an eternal feeling of connection. Elul is the time of year where you can go back to the beginning of what you want. That is why. It's an amazing thing in this week's parsha. It's talking about going out to war. And it's one of my favorite things, how the parsha does it, because you really get to see the different levels of Torah, which is going on so many levels. And one is called Pardes. Pardes is the basic explanation. And Rashi talks about there in the parsha, if you go out to war and you see the beautiful captive and you fall for her and you want to take her and be with her and you shouldn't. So do a process of 30 days, put her in your house and she cries. And after 30 days, if you still want to marry her, then you can marry her. And the basic explanation of that war story is is that's a way to deal with your negative desires. Sometimes they're so great that if you just say no, they become a caged animal and they're going to find an expression. They're going to burst out. So the incredible wise way the Torah gives you is sometimes you need to, if you're making a diet and you're never going to have anything good. So I don't know, so use stevia once and have something if you need. You need to find a way to give yourself an outlet that's proper and kosher, because if you don't, you'll explode. So the simple story there of this war is when you go out to war and you see the beautiful captive, take her and let her bring it to your house. We're not going to say you can't marry her, but you'll marry in 30 days. And she cries in the house, father and her mother, and after 30 days, you want to marry her. That's Rashi and the Pshat. Then there is the explanation that talks about it in terms of the deep secrets. Oh, there's an incredible Or Chaim. We talked about it before in years past. It talks about the soul, and this person has a potentially Jewish soul, and does she or doesn't she, and how it's extracted in this process, because the righteous people, the only guys who went to war were the greatest sages, and how does he fall for this woman now? It's because he found something special in her. The whole thing about the souls in terms of the souls, and this process is to do things in terms of her soul and bring her soul in, all of these things on the Kabbalah side. There's another way to learn it, which is the Zohar brings, which is called derech remez. It's called a hint. It's a metaphoric way to understand it. And in this way, it says, when you go out to war against your enemy, who's your enemy? Your Yetzer Hara, the part of you that wants to do something negative, and that is your real enemy, because it's always there, it's always with you, and that's your test in life, is to deal with these challenges. So when you go out to war, Hashem's going to help you when you decide you want to go to war. And you're going to find in the battle this beautiful woman, this beautiful captive. Who's the beautiful captive? It's your soul. It's your soul, but your soul's stuck because you want to do things that are not in line with the soul, and the soul is trapped. It's a captive. So it says, what do? You let it cry, let the captive cry for 30 days over their mother and her father. And the simple explanation means their parents had died. But according to Zohar, it says the 30 days are the 30 days of Elul. And you cry over your distance between your father and mother, Hashem, and the Jewish nation. What is Elul then? Elul is the 30 days where you're saying, whoa, I got distance this whole year and I want to come back. That's why it's the crying. It's returning to the original will, what you want. And that's why it says in the Zohar, what happened in Elul? What happened in Elul was after Moshe broke the luchos, tablets, was 40 days of praying that God doesn't destroy Jewish people. And then the last 40 days starts on Rosh Chodesh Elul, where God said to Moshe, now come back up, because now I want to be with you again. Now it's a time of rededication. So Elul then becomes the time that precedes the coming down with the final tablets, because now it's a time we're going back to the will that we want to be married. We want to be connected to our source. That's what Elul is. And that's why we've said before, it is the astrological sign of Virgo, of Betula, of Virgin. Why? Because it means that the whole year we've been stuck in what we've been stuck in. So now we come to Elul, we got to say, okay, tshuva. It's about tshuva. It's about fixing ourselves up for Rosh Hashanah. Correct. But how do you do that? You believe that you can actually start again. Hashem says, you could be in a new marriage with me. New marriage, Betula. It's like we're starting again. The person's a Betula, the person's a virgin. We're starting again. We're having a new marriage. What do you mean? All this stuff happened in the past, the whole year, and I've been wherever I got into. Yes, that's true. That did happen. But you have a month now that you can go back to the original will and you get deeper every year. So last year you wanted to connect to Hashem, you want to do the right thing, you want this year you could think about it and go in deeper and restart the whole relation, restart the mind by going to the source, by going to the will. I want to now rebuild my relationship from scratch, from new. Now, scratch is that you're building on the past, but I have a new level of will, a new pleasure that I have in connecting to Hashem. It's amazing. I always tell this to people, but quantum physics. I know a person. He's a Kabbalist. He's very, very. He knows his stuff very well, and he's a bit of a quantum physicist on the side. So he once said to me, he said that I don't understand when people didn't have quantum physics, how they really understood what the Kabbalah was saying. It's so deep, and like how did they have the models to figure out what the Arizal and what the Quick Kabbalists were saying? So certain things in quantum physics now that reveal the things the sages have been telling us for thousands of years. And like, for example, this is just amazing because we think the world is this way and we can't imagine anything outside. It is very static. Quantum physics already shows you that every atom, if you would take the nucleus of the atom and figure out the space between the nucleus and the electrons that surround it, and you put it to scale. This is the way that it brings in one of the books on this. It says if you imagine a giant football stadium and you put a pearl in the middle of the stadium, and flies were flying around the edge of the stadium, that would be the gap, the airspace between the nucleus of the atom to the electrons. There's nothing there. I mean, they call it a wave pattern because somehow it's giving a sense of being there, but like really theoretically you should be able to put your hand right through something because there's nothing there really. So God's creating this, as I heard from Rav Shabtai Taisher, he said, I want to check this with his son-in-law, but I think I got this right. He once said, yeah, well, this world is the most real illusion possible. Means Hashem creates the world, but you think this is the way it is because it is real, and if you're walking into the zoo and you start to jump into the cage with a lion and say, well, this is all an illusion, you're going to be dinner. So you don't want to do that because it's a real, but it's not real in the way you think it is. One of the other things that quantum physics figured out, when they look under a subatomic microscope, I guess what it's called, they see subatomic particles popping in and out of existence, but they're not there. They just keep popping. Where they go, they keep popping in and out. And this is what explanation of what the sages tell us that Hashem, we say in davening every day, Machadesh b'chol yom taimid ma'aseh bereshit. God renews creation every second. Every second, it's new. You don't see it because you're the same person you were yesterday and 6 months ago and 6 years ago. And okay, yes, your cells are changing. So I guess over 7 years, you're a whole new person, but you don't see any of that. And you feel you're the same as you were a second ago, but it's not really true because everything is popping in and out of existence. So we say that God renews creation every moment. That's what's happening. And that's what quantum physics has finally understood. So why are you the same? Why are we all the same as we were 10 minutes ago? If God recreated us, why am I the same guy stuck in my same problems? Well, the answer is that we're stuck in the imagination of what we were before, and we now take that concept and bring it to the next second. And we take that memory of the past and bring it to the next second. And we're dragging things that don't have to be there anymore because you really can start new. And that's what Elul is. Elul means that you're at the end of the year and you got far away, and the Zohar says there's 30 days to cry over the distance. Get in touch with what you really, really want and get close, and then you're going to start new. Yesterday you weren't this way. Yeah, but even if you were 2 seconds ago, you decide right now I'm different. Why not? You have baggage. Yes, it's going to chase after you, but that's not real. Right now, I can make myself. Right now, I could start again. Right now, I could be the month of Elul and be the Virgo and say, I want to have a new relationship. And I could meditate on what is my deepest roots and my deepest will. And this same concept is seen of Elul as the time of my will, tuning into my will, not just from the story of Moshe coming up to Har Sinai on the month of Elul, in the time of will, realigning the relationship. But the B'nai Yissaschar says you could see it in the very beginning of creation. How? When was the world created? Well, we said Rosh Hashanah, according to Elazar, the world was created. Well, that's not exactly right. Rosh Hashanah is when Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, humanity was created, but the world was created. That was the sixth day. So the world actually starts to be created in the month of Elul. Says the B'nai Yissaschar, he says, because Elul is the pre-thought. It's the will. God willed to create the world. And he started the process in Elul, and the willing, the wanting, the desire to have the world starts in Elul. Elul is that month. It is the precursor to the culmination of getting humanity. It's that I want to have people, Hashem says. I want to create an entity that I can give to and that can get pleasure by connecting to me. That's what we have to do in Elul. And really, if we don't do it, it's very hard to do tshuva, because tshuva then could become perfunctory, in the sense that tshuva is, okay, I feel bad, I admit it, I won't do it again. Okay, but I really don't think that I'm going to be really different. So it's like setting your target really low. It's like if you want to start a new relationship with somebody and you don't believe you can, so you go through the motions, but if I don't believe I can, that's a meta problem. That means that I don't really expect to make this thing incredible. So when I go through the process then of trying to fix up my past, I already put a ceiling on how high I could go. So you need Elul first. You need the Basula. You need the concept of restarting totally in the Ratzon, in the will, to say, wow, I really want this to be amazing. And why not? I'm not bound by what happened yesterday. God gave me a process of tshuva. I'll fix that up, and I can start new. I can have a new level of wanting that connection. Once I have that, that is what's going to lead us into the ability to bring it into the mind, to Rosh Hashanah, to bring it into the world of a new start, in a world that we can see, in the world of reality, in the world of the head and the thought process, by going before the thought and touching and tapping in to our will to want to connect and to refine that. And the way I think to do it is really to just sit a little bit and ask ourselves, what do I want? And then when you got why do I want that? What did I really want? What do I really want? And do that until you come to the place where you say, I want to be connected to Hashem. I really want to do the right thing. I really want to understand my life. I really want to be doing the proper things. And that's what I was saying to you earlier. It's not like when the guy says to me he wants to go to Las Vegas, or he wants to, just drink beer all day. I can't argue with that. It's what he wants. But what I can argue with him is that the real Ratzon, the real will, is still inside him. It's just covered over with layers of silliness and layers of other stuff, and we have to peel it away every year to get into the deeper places of our will, which is to connect to the infinite and be united with Hashem in that way. Okay, all the best.